Hello, today we're going to create tic-tac-toe using C. You can use any compiler. I'm using Visual Studio Code, it's free. And yeah, you can use like something like maybe Sublime Text, Atom, whatever the case may be. So we're going to start with the basic stuff, which is the include studio.h, and we're going to do the int main, which basically it's what runs the main code, okay, in C. For those of you who are new to it, this was actually the first project I created using C, and I learned like the basic functionality. So I think this is very helpful for beginners to see. We also go a little bit into pointers, but not too much, so it's pretty friendly for those of you who are new to it. So we're going to declare a few variables, int winner equals 0, which is basically, we don't have booleans in C, so instead of using a boolean, since we don't have one, we're going to use an int, and 0 means false, 1 means true. And we also want to create another int called count t equals 0. I'll explain what these variables are for as we go on. And now we want to initialize a few variables. And one that's an array, that's positions. Basically, it's each position of the board, of the tic-tac-toe board. It obviously has 9 positions. We also want an index, a sign, player, flag, y, k, and j. Okay, so once we have that, we want to do a for loop, very simple. So it's just like pretty much every other language. So for y equals 0, well, y is less than 9, y plus plus. And essentially what we're going to do is we're going to give a value to each position of y, which is going to be an empty space, basically. So once we have that, we're going to do a while loop, and this will contain pretty much most of our code. Actually, it will contain the rest of the code except for a function that we'll be creating later. And we want this to run while count is less than 9 and winner is not equal to 1, which basically means that if winner is true, it stops executing. So we want to do flag equals 0, and well, I'll explain what flag means later on, but we need to basically initialize it. And I guess you could write a comment here, and we're going to print the board. So what we're going to to print in C++, in C, you want to do printf, and we're going to just create a new line. So this is the code for it. So this is going to basically create a new line, so we don't have all the boards like close to each other. We want the separation, because remember, this is going to loop until the game is over. So now we want to do printf, and we're going to do the upper part of the board. And to do that, we're going to do C percentage, percentage C, which essentially takes a value, a character actually, and I'll explain it just in a second in more detail. So we want to do percentage C, this bar, and we want to do another bar. Wait, no, here, percentage C. And basically we need to write here after the values for each character, and this will be the positions. So it will be position 0, since it's the first. So position 0 is going to be the first C, and we'll do position 1 and position 2. Excuse me. So now we have the upper part of the board, and now we want to do another print and this will basically just have a minus, a plus, a minus, a plus, and a minus. And it seems like I've done something wrong up here. Expected a semicolon. It will just disappear later, I guess. Oh, it's a semicolon from up here. Sorry about that, my bad. And we're going to copy this. We're going to delete this. And we're essentially just going to change the positions here. So this is going to be 3, 4, 5. Down here it's going to be 7, 8, 9. So this is going to basically print the board. So once we have that done, we want to see which player, which turn it is. So we have a counter, and basically when we do a move, when a player does a move, the counter adds 1. So we want to do if count remainder of 2 equals 0. We want the sign to be equal to X, capital X, and the player will be equal to 1. And if this is not the case, we want the sign to be equal to capital O and player equals 2. So that's essentially it. That's how we decide who's going to whose turn it is, basically. So we are going to print a simple line in the screen, and we're going to say move for player, and here we're going to introduce a %sign D, which is going to indicate the number of the player, and we want to do 1, 9. So it basically, because we're going to use the numbers from 1 to 9 to be able to place things on the board. And once we have that done, we need to put player here, just like it's basically the same principle as here. Okay, so the %D refers to this player. It could be either 1 or 2. And let's put the semicolon. And once we have that, we are going to grab some input. Okay, so to do that, we need the scanf, and we're going to do again the %sign D, and we are going to put index. But if we just leave it like that, it won't work. We actually need to put an and right before it, because basically we need to make a pointer to be able to scan. That's how it works in C. So the only thing that you really need to know for this tutorial is that pointers are basically another kind, just like another type of variable that stores the information of where, in this case index, where index is stored in the RAM. And this changes from every time you execute it. It will probably change. So that's the main idea, and you don't need to know any more about it. You can do like some cool stuff with pointers that are really powerful, but we don't need to do anything more in this tutorial. So now we want to check if the movement is valid. So if the index is less than 1, or the index is greater than 9, we want to print, and we want to say allow the index is 1 to 9, and I guess we could do a new line just like that. And now we also want to check if the index the number you press, so the index has already been used. So if the position of the index -1, because it's an array and it starts at 0, so we have to subtract 1. equals capital X or position index minus 1. I think I forgot the one, yeah. Equals capital O, which is the circle. If this is the case, actually I forgot one little thing. We want to put continue here. So if this is the case, what we want to do is we want to print another message saying that the position is occupied, and we want to do a new line just so it's not a big mess, basically. And we also want to do continue. Okay, so if the position index minus 1 equals sign. So that's if these cases are not met, basically. We want the position index minus 1 to be equal to the sign, which is either X or O. And we also want to increment the count by 1. So we do that. The simplest way to do it is doing count plus plus, because we've placed a piece. So now what we need to do is we need to check if the current player has 1. So we need to check columns, rows, and we also need to check the diagonals. So we have to do 3 different for loops. Actually, for the diagonals we don't have to do 1, but so it's only 2, if I remember correctly. So for y equals 0, well, y is less than 9, y plus plus. And here what we're going to do is, the simplest way to do this is if y remainder of 3 equals 0. Let's put this a bit more clean. The flag is going to be equal to 0. It's going to be equal to 0. So basically that's if we go to another row. So if position y, I'll explain in a minute what the flag means. So if position y equals sign, that is the current sign of the current player, which is either X or O, wants to increment the flag by 1. So essentially what we're trying to figure out is if the flag gets to be 3, we need to indicate that the current player has 1. Okay, so that's why when y remainder of 3 equals 0, we need to set back flag back to 0. Okay, so what we have to do now is if flag equals 3, we are going to say winner equals 1. And this is an AND, but basically we're using it as a boolean, okay? And we're going to write when, which is going to be a function that we'll create by the end of the video. And we need to pass the arguments player, winner, and also position. So now we want to set the flag back to 0, and we want to do another for loop. So for y equals 0, well, y is less than 3, y plus plus. And here what we'll do is another for loop, so it's going to be a nested loop. So for k equals y, well, k is less or equal to y plus 6, k plus equals 3. Okay, so that might be a bit confusing, but basically that's how we check the rows. So if position dot k equals the sign, we're going to increment the flag by 1. And we're going to copy this over here. We're going to reuse it. So if flag equals 3, the winner, blah blah blah, win, player, winner, position. That's it. And now we're going to check the diagonals. So we need to set back flag equals to 0, and we're going to do an if statement. So if the position 0, if the position 0 equals sign and position 4 equals sign and position 8 equals sign, that is one of the diagonals, or we're going to, let's just copy this. Let's put this in here. So to do the other diagonal, it has to be 2. The 4 remains the same, and the 8 changes to a 6. So if this is the case, we want to set winner equals to 1. That means that it's true, and we want to do the win again, player, winner, and position. And what we're going to do is create a function where, oops, didn't mean to do that. And we're going to create a function. So to do that, it doesn't return anything, so it's going to be void. It's called win, and we need the arguments int player, int winner, and int position. And here basically we're going to copy the board, because we're going to print it once again. There might be a slightly more efficient way of doing this without having to copy this code again, but I found that this is it's still pretty solid. So if winner, we want to print f player %d is the winner. And let's do a new line, and we're going to put player here, which refers to the %d. So if this is not the case, else print f, this is a match draw, and we want to do a new line. So basically that's it. Oh, I forgot the semicolon, but that's it basically. Wait, I'm forgetting also another bracket. So let's try it out. So we have a little problem for line 50, 77, and 50. Let me check it out once again. I'll come back to you. Okay, sorry about that. I saw the error pretty quickly. I forgot to say in the board section that we need to do a new line. So just do the same as here. So basically, if we execute it, we'll be able to do movements. So 5, 3, and 2. 1. Position is occupied. Okay, it works. Position is occupied. 7. So we also have another error yet again. Okay, sorry about that again. What you want to do is you want to put flag 0 and line 66. So before it was here, and we want to move it over here. And the other thing is that in the board I wrote here 7, 8, 9, and it's 6, 7, 8, and the same applies for here. Okay, so if we run this, I'm just going to, you'll see that it works perfectly fine. Oh, I messed up. 5, 6, 9. There we go. So as you can see, it works perfectly fine. So in this case, player 1 is the winner because it checked the diagonal and it works. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe. I'll be creating more content like this, other projects, not only C, but also Python and Java, which is the main stuff I work with. So yeah, if you liked it, make sure to do that, and yeah, see you in the next one. Bye.